everyone, and welcome to What's Up Inland Empire. I'm Jessica Q, your host. Today is a very interesting episode because I have one of my previous bosses here. So I've got Jeff Parke, the general manager of KOLA and KCAL radio stations located in Redlands. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, it's great to be here, Jessica.
Thank you so much for coming out. I'm so excited to have you here. And today we're going to talk a little bit about radio, what you guys got going on at KOLA and KCAL. First, can you give everybody a little bit of a background of, your position at KOLA and KCAL, how long you've been there?
Wait, this isn't a job interview? I thought I was hiring you back.
Oh, no, I'm staying here.
All right, well, I'll try not to put your audience to sleep. You want to know my background at
Yes.
KCAL KOLA? So I'm kind of like old man time there. I started in 1987. I'm sure you weren't born then. And I came out from Los Angeles. I had about 10 years of previous radio experience at the time. Started out as a disc jockey, got into sales, and then got into management. Came out here and thought I'd be here for 2 or 3 years, thinking, I'll go back to Los Angeles, and fell in love with the IE.
Ooh,
And so we started out with just KCAL, and then in about 1991, we bought KOLA, and KOLA was just a horrible radio station. It was automated, no live and local, and we slowly went from automation to live in the morning and afternoon, and then live. Oops, you told me not to touch.
It's okay, hold on, wait, let's do the sound effect. Okay, good.
Thank you.
I've been wanting to use one of those.
Well done.
Thank you.
And we slowly staffed it out, and he changed the format from an oldies to what it is ultimately evolved to now, which is classic
hits, yeah. And actually, when I started working at KOLA and KCAL, I was the first representative that was able to sell both stations. So I do remember coming in with all these new changes.
Right.
It was very exciting. And so I just want to touch back on your history a little bit, but you were a DJ?
I was, yes.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience being a DJ on the radio?
I went to broadcasting school in Hollywood, and in 1979, I got my first job in the thriving metropolis of Lompoc, California, which is about an hour north of Santa Barbara.
Oh, okay.
And then stayed there for about a year, and then there was an opening in Santa Barbara, so I went down to the rock station, the Rock on the Coast, KTMS FM.
Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah.
That was your radio voice.
That is. So it was a cool, I loved it. I mean, that's what all I ever wanted to do was be on the air. I wanted to be a big morning guy in Los Angeles, but it's so competitive, which I really understand now from the management side. But, and so I always say I was an air talent until I realized I had no talent. Then I went straight and got into sales. Got my first job in sales up in San Jose, working at a AM FM combo up there, and then there for a couple of years, and then down to Los Angeles, and in the big time, and ended up out here. But I loved being on the air. It was really fun. I was an afternoon drive guy. It was a sort of a college rock format, eclectic, and
kind of like KCAL. Kind of. Well, because KCAL does have a lot of classic hits as well.
It probably was a much more deep track, esoteric playlist than what KCAL is. And KCAL's more of just an active rock.
Yeah.
But they're not that deep in the tracks. We play hits that people know from that lane.
So I want to give you guys a compliment real quick. Let's talk about format changing. So an IE station went out of business, completely gone, X103.9. Disappeared all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
Turned into another station. They changed their format. And I love that you guys jumped on the opportunity to really capture that audience that they left sitting there wondering what to do, right? And I started noticing KCAL started playing a little bit more alternative.
Yeah.
And that was great. Whose idea was that, or how did you guys decide to adjust the format?
Well, X103 was very limited in their signal. So even when they were doing the alternative stuff, we never saw them as that much of a threat, because even with their good programming that they had, and they had really good talent over there. In fact, we hired away their ex-program director is working for us now. But,
Nice.
you know, we never really thought that they were going to be that much of a threat to us, and they weren't. But once they abandoned the format, and my program director Daryl and I sat there thinking, why not add some of the alternative stuff? We did some music tests and researched it, which ones would match. You can't just say, hey, let's start playing alternative stuff. Let's play more, Green Day and, some of the things that were germane to that format. How's that going to sound up against Metallica and, some of our core artists? So you have to test it. And we found that there was a lot of them that really would do well, in addition to even some of the sort of reggae stuff that they played. We're playing a lot of that stuff too. So, and it just fit perfectly. We made a few changes from our core music list, and it was great. It was kind of a no-brainer, really.
Yeah.
Just why not grab whatever they did have and try to bring it over?
Bring it over, yeah. They did have a smaller audience, but still, taking that audience and bringing it into your audience just builds your reach, right? So that was great. So now, how long has KCAL been a radio station?
Well, I think the original license goes back to 1955.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
It was owned by a family called the James family. They bought it, started it. Andy James is the guy we bought it from, and they were an AM/FM. The AM was a Hispanic station.
That's right.
But back in the early days, the AM was more of a top 40 type of play, and the FM was beautiful music. And that's before FM was big. FM didn't really explode until the 70s, really.
Oh.
A lot of cars didn't even have FM in as an option. It was just an AM radio. But in the 70s, when they started to make FM, people started realizing, hey, it sounds so much better. Why is FM the stepchild of AM? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Can you actually explain to everybody how the signals work? What's the difference between an AM signal and an FM signal?
Well, an AM signal is simply a mono. You don't have channels. It just comes out of, it's whatever you're listening to, sounds like it's just coming out of one speaker.
Okay.
It's a clear signal. Also, AM radio, the way the transmitters work, if you're driving along freeways and you see these big, huge towers, out in the Midwest especially, you see it a lot, big, long, 300-foot towers. That's going to be an AM station, because AM signals just shoot from wherever they are. They can go through buildings.
Out, right? Okay.
They shoot out straight. They don't have to be elevated.
Now FM is shoots it out from like mountains, so they have to have the towers on the mountains,
have to
right?
be on the mountain, and
they fall
and it comes down like an umbrella.
Right.
The signal, and it shoots out and then emanates out shoots out like an umbrella. So
like an umbrella.
So the higher you are and the more wattage you have, the better your signal's going to be. So, KCAL's stick is up halfway up to Lake Arrowhead off Highway 18, and Kola's is over on Box Springs Mountain above Moreno Valley.
You gotta have the towers really high up. So we're gonna go into a quick commercial break, and when we come back, I'm gonna ask Jeff a very serious question, because a lot of people are wondering, is radio a dying media? We'll be right back.
Do you need help reaching more customers? At NB Media, we're a full-service advertising agency offering social media marketing, Hulu, Spotify, billboards, photo shoots, radio, TV, and websites. To see what else we offer, visit www.nb.media or call 951-777-1947.
And we are back. Thank you so much to our sponsors. Without our sponsors, we can't do this, so thank you guys so much. Jeff, are you ready for the question
I'm ready.
of the year?
Bring it on.
So let's talk about radio, and is radio a dying media?
No. Radio will never be a dying media. radio is the only source of entertainment that anybody can get where you can have an intimate relationship with what you're listening to for free. Everybody likes free. I mean, you're in marketing,
Yeah.
you know that.
Oh yeah.
Free, give me a free offer, I'm in. So, you know, we have survived, radio has survived every single opposition that's come our way. Now, when I was a teenager, I got my first car, probably listening to an AM radio station because they didn't have FM. But they introduced these things called 8-track machines.
Oh
Do
yeah.
you know what an 8-track is?
I do know what an 8-track is.
You're pretty vintage here. So.
Yeah.
So, you know, everybody thought, well, that's the end of radio because people are going to go buy what they want. They can just almost be like driving around listening to their favorite albums. They don't have to listen to a radio station anymore. No, don't have to be bothered by commercials, all of that. Well, 8-tracks were gone in 3 years. But then it was cassette tapes in the cars.
Oh,
A
yeah.
little smaller cassette tape.
But I hate when they would like, you know, like the cord of the cassette would come out and it would get all messed up.
Absolutely.
That was awful.
When's the last time the radio station you were listening to got all tangled up? See, we don't have that.
No.
And that was supposed to be the death of us then, and that didn't problem. Then what happened next? CD devices, players in the car. That's got to be it because no tangling, like you were just saying.
Yeah, nothing. But then a CD would get scratched, and then
There you
there goes
go.
like half your album.
And the next thing that was really supposed to do it for us was the satellite. You know,
Satellite
Sirius
radio.
XM was supposed to be
The end.
the end. And it really, of all the other things that I saw, that was the one that probably scared me the most because I thought, well, now you've got a way to listen to something through the same device. It's right there, and no commercials. So if somebody wants to listen, go find a station that sounds like KCAL on Sirius, they're going to be doing that, or sounds like Cola or whatever. And the problem is the price. You know, it sounded great to get started, but people would say, well, I don't want to pay this. Oh, there's another bill. What is it? Oh, it's your satellite radio. We got to pay
Your
for it.
monthly fee.
And
right.
so it just never did
So it
what it's
wasn't as
supposed to
bad
do.
as you guys expected it to be. And I do want to point out that local radio, it's local radio. That means you've got local people. Like you guys got on Cola, you got Jesse Duran. Jesse Duran has been a DJ in this market for years. You know, people know him, they connect with him. And you guys have events throughout the community, throughout, you know, the local cities. So people actually can come in and meet your team and meet the radio station DJs. And so I do love that about radio, because you do have that opportunity to really connect with the audience.
Exactly.
vice
You're
versa.
answering my question for me. So
Yeah.
that's the best thing of all, is live and local.
Yeah.
You know, when you can go out, wake up in the morning and you turn on the radio and there's Patrick on KCAL or Jesse on Cola, and you know, you're struggling to get yourself going, and he starts doing a contest that you love to listen to, or he's playing a song, or he's talking about, hey, I'm going to be out at the brand new opening of this new store somewhere, and you'll think, hey, I might actually go by there and see him. And there you go by, and there he is, and you can shake hands with him and talk to him, and he's probably going to give you a prize of some type. And,
Yeah. Get a
you know.
shirt or some tickets. Yeah.
and you know, we're right next to Los Angeles, but this market does not have local television. So there's no TV stars out here. The stars, the celebrities in this market are the radio guys.
A lot of radio. Yep. I agree. Now let's talk about what makes Cola and KCAL different from your competitors, because there are tons of other radio stations in the market, but what makes you guys stand out compared to them?
Well, my answer to that would be, first off, just who we are inside our building. We are a small, independently owned company, as opposed to our biggest competitors here are owned by either iHeart or Odyssey Media, and those guys have, you know, anywhere from 1,100 to 2,000 other radio stations all around the country. And so, you know, they're publicly traded companies. They're focused on the bottom line. They don't care. They really don't. And I mean, I know they dispute this, but in a market like ours, especially, they just don't care what's going on. They farm their programming in from other stations, You turn on one of these other guys and you think, well, oh, there's this guy that I'm listening to in the afternoon, and you realize, but he never says anything about Riverside or San Bernardino. He's not talking about how hot it is here today. He's not talking about how much rain we had here today. And that's because he's not here. They found a way to make it sound like they're live and local, and they might have one or two.
Like syndicated shows.
Yeah.
We do a lot of that.
And they're bringing them in from their other stations, so they're not even syndicated, which is good because they don't have to pay a syndication price. But they're bringing in, they'll say, hey, we got a country station in, Houston. Let's put that guy on in the evenings at our Riverside San Bernardino station, and he'll do fine.
Yeah. But he doesn't know anything about the Inland Empire. He's probably never been to the Inland Empire.
Yeah, and if you want to, if you're sitting around in one of those other radio stations saying, hey, let's come up with a big new promotional idea to generate whatever, enthusiasm about a new product that we're coming out with, or a new DJ that we have, or whatever it is, we go into the conference room. We just did this yesterday. And we'll have all of our department heads sit in there. I'm in the meeting, and we'll say, okay, this is what we're doing because this is what needs to be done in this market to serve our people. And what do we need to get it done, to get it going? And we just make it happen. We don't have to call New York or Dallas and run it up the regional guys' flagpole first. We decide what we're going to do, and we make it happen.
You're the decision maker, right? At the end of the day.
I am.
You finalize it, and you're right there in Redlands.
I'm the guy that sits in my office and practices my putting, and then I go to those meetings.
And then you go to those meetings.
And I make the decisions.
So you're a great golfer and a great decision maker.
No, I'm not a good golfer. That's why I have to practice putting in my office. So.
Oh, I see. You're not getting better?
No.
No? Darn,
You've played with me before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still the same.
But, okay. I remember that. Good times. What else can we talk about? So you were talking about, you guys being a local station. So Anaheim Broadcasting is KOLA and KCAL.
Right.
And then you've got these other larger radio stations. I personally, book advertising, and I do want to recognize that you guys do accommodate and do really try harder to make sure that these local businesses can get the help that they need. And a lot of them don't have like huge budgets, so it's really nice to work with a station that's like willing to, be there and help. So you guys do make a difference, and I love that. Before we go into our next question, we are going to go into a quick commercial break. So we'll be right back, guys.
Do you need help reaching more customers? At NB Media, we're a full-service advertising agency offering social media marketing, Hulu, Spotify, billboards, photo shoots, radio, TV, and websites. To see what else we offer, visit www.nb.media or call 951-777-1947.
All right, we are back. Thank you so much to our sponsor. And I'm here with Jeff Parke from KOLA and KCAL, General Manager of the radio stations located in Redlands. And I want to ask you about marketing and branding. When you want to advertise on radio or compared to all these other medias, why should somebody go with radio rather than going with satellite radio or, television?
Well, or anything for that matter, if you ask me. Why radio over television, satellite, billboards, direct mail, newsprint, whatever you're trying to do? I'm not knocking those other things. I mean, I think everybody should have a good media mix with what they're doing, but I just think radio has to be an essential part of it because, like we already discussed, we can take some business's commercial, bring it in, and we're not going to sound or look like something a generic national commercial you see on television or here on Sirius XM, because we're going to put our own personal jocks on it. We're going to personalize it and do whatever the advertiser can come into us and say, here's how I want this to sound, and I really need to touch on these things. And we'll say, okay, well, maybe that needs 3 commercials. Let's rotate 3 instead of just doing 1. One will talk about your new hours. The next one's going to talk about how you've expanded your space here, and the other one's going to talk about your whole new management team. And we'll rotate the commercials. And we can get that done. We can sit in a meeting with somebody in our conference room and bring in our people, our copywriters and our marketing strategists that help us out with this stuff that are in the building. And we can have that commercial on the air 24 hours later, ready to go, rotating with whatever you want. We can change the schedule. You could call us up on Wednesday and say, hey, we're advertising this one product line and we just ran out. There's none left in the store.
Change the commercial right away.
Change the commercial,
And you can change it pretty quickly.
We can get it done right then and there, and with the local touch, and we know that we're targeting, and especially with radio in general, you can really target who you want to talk to.
Yeah.
If you're, a country western bar that is featuring all the new up and coming country artists, and you come to us and say, hey, we want to do a big cola night here, we're probably going to say, we'd love to have the money, but
does it make sense?
Not really us. There's another guy across the street you can use.
Yeah.
Here's who we are, and we can target exactly what they're trying to do to who our audience is. And we want it to work. So if it's the wrong advertiser, we might steer them toward one of our other platforms like digital.
Mm-hmm.
But the over-the-air advertising
it's got to
we
make
might
sense.
not
It's
do.
got to be the right genre and everything, and
Yeah.
that makes sense.
But once you make that connection, you have the product aligned with our audience, you just can't beat it. And 97% of people out there with cars are still tuning in to their radio that's in the car every time they get in. It's not that they're automatically Bluetoothing their phone to their console so they can listen to their own Spotify playlist. They don't really do that when they're out driving around in their car. They stick with radio. So
they want to hear the local
Yeah,
news.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to talk about the OG, the original influencers, the DJs. The on-air DJs are actually the original, influencers, because they've been influencing people, which we would call it endorsement, where they endorse a, dealership, or they endorse a medical center. But they've been influencing for a long time. So I'm sure you see on social media, there's all these influencers, and some people are influencers just because they made a video and they say they're an influencer, right? But we got the OG influencers, and I just wanted to point that out because I don't think people realize, like, influencing has been going on for a long time, and it really comes down to these DJs that we have on air that have been influencing for a very long time.
I watch influencers, and I watch even the formats that you see on certain TV shows, and I think, boy, that's right out of radio. I mean, they got that from radio. That's the way we do it in radio. That's how that person is going about this show. They look like they're trying to be a morning show.
A morning show, yeah.
And our influencers have been there for a very long time. Our joke that sort of fits both of our radio stations, since it's an Eagles song, Hotel California, the line you can check out, but you can never leave.
Yeah.
Nobody leaves KCAL.
Yeah.
You're one of the only people that ever left.
No, I might have left, but I've never disconnected.
Well, you're still
because I'm your guys' client now, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm still connected. I
you owe us any money
leave.
right now, by the way? You don't have anything in accounts receivable, do you?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll check.
Okay. But
maybe I do. Huh?
but like
I didn't pay you guys a
our morning guy on KCAL is like a relative rookie in the building. He's been with us 10 years. The midday girl has actually was on Cola for a while. Now she's on KCAL. She's also, I guess you'd say, kind of a rookie at 8 or 9 years.
Okay.
Daryl has been our afternoon drive guy and also program director. That guy's been an influencer on KCAL since 1986.
Yeah. Wow.
Our evening guy's been around for 10 years. On Cola, you got Jesse, like you said. He's got 20 years experience in the market. He's been with us. We just had his 10-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Cindy Davis has been with me for since 1987.
Wow.
She was on KCAL before, now on KOLA. Vic Slick, I mean, that guy is the dean of Inland Empire Radio. He's been here for 30 years plus. And then Kevin's been with us in the evening for 15, 20 years. And
So a lot
they
of
are-
time DJs.
they
But
are-
wait, hold on. I have to do this. So there was this big thing that happened a few years back where you guys had to change the morning show. And I know there was a lot of pushback, and it was when you guys had to change the KCAL morning show, right? So I had Jimbo, Tiffany, and Stu. And I can only imagine how hard it was to have to make this change, because they were on air for a long time, right?
yeah,
But I understand where you're coming from. Whether I know them, I like them, we're friends, but from a business perspective, it's always a little bit different, right?
yeah.
And so, how hard was that for you?
I'll tell you right now, I don't even have to think about it. It's the worst day I've ever had in my life in radio. I'll never forget it. I think about it all the time. Just so you know, Stu was the first guy I ever met when I walked in the building in 1987. He was standing at the copier machine in the old building where it used to be out on Green Spot Road. And I had never met him before, and he's standing there making copies, and he turns around and says, "Hey, I'm Stu, how you doing?" And I could tell just from, I'd been driving in, I was still living in LA when I first started listening to the show. I couldn't believe what a good show it was back then. This is called Stu and the Crew back then. So, I mean, Stu and I go back 36, 37 years. At the time that this all went down, I'd been working with Stu for over 30 years. Jimbo, he came in as an intern back in the late 80s. He was just a young kid. I loved him like a little brother. Tiffany, I literally, is one of the greatest success stories of my career, because we were looking for a different morning show. This is back in the late 80s, early 90s. We're looking for a new morning show, and I'm listening to this guy by the name of Perry Stone. He was kind of the precursor to Howard Stern. He was a shock jock, and somebody brought up, he'd sent us a tape to listen to. He was always getting fired because it was controversial stuff, but he would always get you big ratings. You'd bring him in for 6 months, and then you'd fire him. And hopefully, though, you got big ratings along the way. And my program director brings it in. I said, "We're not hiring Perry Stone. No, I don't want to deal with the legal costs. Forget it." And he says, "Just listen to the tape." So I listened to it, and he's doing his thing, and he's funny, but he's pushing the envelope, and he's very blue. And all I'm focusing on is, who's the sidekick? Who is this girl? She sounds so good. I mean, she's better than Robin on the Howard Stern show. I forget that guy. I want to find her. So I called the station. It was in Columbus, Ohio. I said, "Who's this Tiffany?" And they said, "Oh yeah, she doesn't work here anymore. We canned the morning show, and she went to Fort Lauderdale or somewhere down in Jacksonville."
Okay.
And where? They had a country station. So I got out my radio guide book that we used to have back in those days. I'm looking up and it was a country station. I'm calling all the country stations in Jacksonville. Is Tiffany there? No, we don't know who that is. Okay, thank you. Is Tiffany there? Oh, yeah.
Do you need help reaching more customers? At NB Media, we're a full-service advertising agency offering social media marketing, Hulu, Spotify, billboards, photo shoots, radio, TV, and websites. To see what else we offer, visit www.nb.media or call 951-777-1947.
Brought her out, hired her, and she's just one of the most professional, awesome people I was ever around. The problem with the show was, we were just struggling budgetarily. It wasn't their fault. The stations were just not doing as well as we wanted them to. And we had to make cuts. The corporate office came down and made me do a bunch of cuts. There were other cuts that took place also, but
that was the one that the public saw.
Nobody else saw the behind the
other
scenes
stuff. Yeah.
line items that I cut.
Yeah.
And we had to go from basically a 4-person show down to a one-person
To a
show.
one-person,
And it was just something that.
That's when Patrick came to
Yeah.
and he took over, yeah. So last but not least, before we say goodbye to everybody, I want to talk about the KCAL Kegger. So this is an event that you guys put on every summer. Well, I know during the pandemic there was a year or two that it didn't happen.
Yeah,
But every summer you have the KCAL Kegger. So I guess right now you guys are doing 2 a summer.
yes,
So we just had one about a month ago.
right.
So much fun, so many people. It's basically if you've never been to one, it's a beer festival in the parking lot of the radio station. They've got bands, the DJs are on stage talking to everybody. It's so fun. It's so much fun. I think, is it Hangar 24?
Hangar 24 is the title sponsor.
Title sponsor, And so, real quick, I just want to touch on that because you do have another one coming up. So I want to invite everybody out so they can come down to the radio station themselves and party
Good.
with us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, what's the date for the next one?
What is the date?
September 15th.
September 15th.
So that's a Friday, September 15th.
Yes.
From 5 p.m. to 9
5 to
p.m.
9.
And I do want to mention that What's Up Inland Empire is going to be there. We're going to have a booth, a tent, and so we want you guys to come down, hang out with this party. It's free to get in.
It's the only place you're ever going to find where you can go for free, see 3 bands play. One of them is the Rock Stars of Tomorrow. So if you want to see teenage kids get up there and just blow it out, they're the Rock Stars
They're
of Tomorrow.
amazing.
And then we'll have 2 other cover bands there. We got beer pouring all over the place from Hangar 24. You got
Food,
food,
barbecue, pizza.
It's a street festival, rock concert, and beer bash all in one, and you get in for free. And you will meet our DJs. They'll be in the crowd,
Yeah.
shaking hands, doing what they do, influencing and being live and local.
Yes. And how long has the KCAL Kegger been around?
Well, we just did our 65th one.
65th
Yeah,
Kegger.
yeah.
That
And,
is amazing. Have you been to all of them?
I've probably missed about 3 of them.
But you've been there since the beginning.
Oh yeah, I was there from the very first one.
So cool. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
This was so fun, and it was fun to catch
Agreed.
up. And but yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to tune in KCAL FM, KOLA FM, and I know you guys have apps, so you can go listen to them on the app as well, or live on the radio. But once again, thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, and thank you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.